Thank you for joining us this morning for the Bilateral Chambers webinar, a preview to the Hydrogen Arabia Conference. Bilateral Chamber of Commerce has spent about 25 years building a platform for global economic growth and partnerships with our business, government, and innovation sectors. We have a prominent focus in the Middle East and a growing influence in the rising markets around the world, including Africa, the Indo-Pacific, and Central Asia. We invite you to visit our website, bilateralchamber.org, for more information. I want to introduce our speakers today to talk about Hydrogen Arabia Conference. Oliver Pensulo is head of sales for the World Future Energy Summit and Hydrogen Arabia. He leads the commercial and growth strategy for these two programs, and they're both MENA's regional premier platforms, driving innovation and investment in clean energy. His role is to build and manage key relationships and stakeholders across energy, water, hydrogen, and sustainable infrastructure. While he is headquartered in in Dubai, he is currently in Egypt today. So we welcome Oliver. Our next speaker is Hack Hayward. He's worked in the hydrogen energy and fuel cell industry space for more than a decade. His notable projects include fuel cell vehicle fleets in China, green hydrogen projects in the US, and policy analysis in Europe. Hack specializes in commercial applications for fuel cells and has delivered projects in the materials handling, heavy-duty trucking, maritime, and data center backup power applications. He is currently based in Texas, where he supports H2 Energy Development, the Houston H2 High Velocity Hub, and other local fuel cell and electrolyzer projects. And we welcome Hack and Oliver both to the program. I'm going to turn things over to Oliver to share a little bit more information about the upcoming Hydrogen Arabia Conference and how you can get engaged.
Thank you very much, Kerry. I appreciate it. Good morning, all. Good afternoon here from Cairo. As introduced, my name is Oliver Pensulo. I look after partnerships at both our World Future Energy Summit, WEFIS in Abu Dhabi, and also our new Hydrogen Arabia event. So thank you for the opportunity to introduce this new event. The first edition will take place on the 8th and 9th of December at the Crown Plaza Hotel and Convention Center in Riyadh. It forms part of the Marine and Energy portfolio, which is organized by Ares Global, one of the leading event organizers. And the hydrogen portfolio has got 3 events in it. Our flagship event is World Hydrogen, which takes place in Rotterdam, followed by Americas in Washington, D.C. And we've also got Hydrogen APAC, which actually takes place in November later on this year in Sydney. So the 4th edition now being, the 4th and newest edition being the Hydrogen Arabia here in Riyadh in December. So why hydrogen? Why now? Why the new launch? Essentially, we strongly believe that hydrogen will play a pivotal role in the energy transition and decarbonization, in particular hard to abate sectors like steel, ammonia, cement, and heavy transportation. And as investment accelerates, we believe the cost of production will continue to fall, making it one of the most viable solutions to replace fossil fuels. And of course, I'm sure Hack will go into a bit more detail here as well. But coming back to this part of the world, the Gulf region, and in particular, Saudi Arabia, has positioned itself as a global leader in hydrogen development and production, with key projects such as NEOM, a newly launched Yambo hub projected to be twice the size of NEOM, showcasing the scale, the ambition, and commitment of the kingdom in the sector. Again, with over 270 billion in projected investments over the next few years, the Vision 2030 framework continues to create unprecedented opportunities across the entire value chain, from production and infrastructure to technology, partnerships, and exports. And this is where Hydrogen Arabia comes in. The event serves as a strategic platform for connecting international solution technology providers with regional stakeholders, fostering collaboration and investment across the hydrogen ecosystem. Hydrogen Arabia follows a convex model. So this is combining a full 2 days exhibition with a full 2-day high-level conference program. The event is dedicated at addressing local market needs in Saudi Arabia, in the wider Gulf regions, whilst maintaining a global perspective on technology, policy, and innovation trends. We're very excited because we've already secured speakers from leading organizations like NEOM, SABIC, CAPSAC, and several others soon to confirm. There are several ways to participate at Hydrogen Arabia, obviously based on objectives, but these are included, not limited to attending as a delegate, which we welcome you all here on this call, looking at exhibiting opportunities where you can showcase technologies, solutions to key buyers, and then looking at sponsorship where you enhance visibility and engagement during and before the event. And of course, talking about speaking and showing that thought leadership opportunities that is also available to you. I'm pleased to share an exclusive offer that we have for chamber members across all the participation options that I've listed. So please feel free to reach out to me directly to explore these opportunities further. Again, thank you very much for your time and attention. We look forward to welcoming you to Hydrogen Arabia this December. And I'll pass on back to you, Carrie, if there's any questions or any follow-up.
And now I'd like to invite Hack Hayward to present on hydrogen in the region, as well as his vast knowledge of what's going on with the conference and including one of your speaking opportunities as well there, Hack.
Great. Yeah. Thanks, Carrie. It's good to follow up with Oliver's presentation. Oliver did mention NEOM and Yanbu, two major projects, clean hydrogen projects being put together in Saudi Arabia. It's an exciting time to be involved in clean hydrogen in the kingdom. And I'm certainly looking forward to my own presentation, which I'll be making on the first day of the conference on the international energy attribute certificates for clean hydrogen. Let me go ahead and expand a little bit on what Oliver was saying and give chamber members a little more background on what's going on in hydrogen globally and in Saudi Arabia specifically. According to the Hydrogen Council, major drivers of clean hydrogen uptake are government decarbonization policies, of which Saudi Arabia has a couple. Energy system diversification and resilience, especially in light of increasing renewable construction. Corporate commitments. This is especially important in the face of the current stepping back by many governments in North America and Europe from green hydrogen supporting policies. These corporate commitments are filling the gap. And these range everything from, for example, large shipping companies like Maersk are committing to methanol dual fuel ships. Methanol, of course, is a derivative of clean hydrogen, something that we can produce with clean hydrogen and carbon capture. Another important uh, derivative is ammonia, clean ammonia, which is something that is a potential vector or carrier of hydrogen, especially for international trade. Some success factors for clean hydrogen projects include the certainty of offtake demand, including captive offtake, such as for refineries, which of course is a big industry for Saudi Arabia. Favorable financing terms and investor confidence. These have been solved through some novel financing mechanisms, such as the contract for difference uh, policy in Japan, of which there have been 27 applicants, and several, such as JERA, will probably win that particular round. Also, the hydrogen allocation rounds in the UK, another form of contract for difference. And then there's H2 Global, based in Hamburg, Germany, which subsidizes imports of clean hydrogen. So pretty hard to argue with that. You've got in today's world, many countries are subsidizing exports, and yet when it comes to clean hydrogen, many countries are subsidizing imports. So this is a very important industry and potentially a lucrative one as well. I'm going to go ahead and scroll to my next slide here. Uh, so a little bit more about the kingdom in specific. The Middle East is positioning itself as an export hub, and can be seen as the natural transition from oil and gas exports to clean hydrogen exports. Uh, Saudi Arabia in particular plans several green hydrogen production projects. So you mentioned NEOM in the northwest and also the Yanbu project. One such project is the Saudi Green Initiative targeting net zero by 2060. Hydrogen Arabia, in addition to focusing on hydrogen, is also going to promote carbon neutrality and CCS technologies. Now, CCS technologies is an important uh, way of getting to low carbon hydrogen. So we've got green hydrogen, hydrogen produced by the electrolysis of water powered by renewables. And then we have blue hydrogen, which is hydrogen formed from natural gas or another petrochemical coupled with CCS technology to decrease that carbon intensity. Saudi Arabia also recently joined the International Partnership for Hydrogen in the Economy, IPHE, and has signed several bilateral MOUs with Germany, like I mentioned previously. Okay, investments. There is a significant amount of money moving around in Saudi Arabia to support clean hydrogen. One is the Public Investment Fund, which plans over 10 billion via working with Aramco. Then there's COP26. Again, this reiterated $100 billion per year of climate finance. Uh, and then much of this in Saudi Arabia has been directed towards hydrogen fuel cell scale up. Saudi Arabia itself plans 270 billion energy investment by 2030 and targets market share of 10% of global hydrogen exports. So this implies multi-megaton annual capacity beyond first wave projects. Saudi Arabia is targeting net zero by 2060 with a planned $180 billion investment. So lots of these projects going on. The volume goals are currently 1.2 million tons per year by 2030. To put this in perspective, global production is around 100 MTA. Uh, the largest producer is China, around 33 MTA, followed by the US, which is around 15 MTA. Saudi Arabia is plans to grow fast, as well as other countries in the Middle East here. Uh, and then of that, 15% of the world's blue hydrogen, again, that's hydrogen produced by the reformation of natural gas and or other petrochemicals, could be 15% of that could be ready by 2030. Okay, so let me talk about some export markets. Global hydrogen demand could increase tenfold by 2050, expanding import appetite, and this will support Saudi Arabia scale economics, increase hydrogen fuel cell industries. And then the global green hydrogen market is projected to be 72 billion by 2030. This is despite the recent setbacks for many governments in North America and Europe. The that gap seems to be being filled by corporate projects and also extensive hydrogen production projects in the Middle East and East Asia. So the industry is really changing in focus with many organizations in Saudi Arabia planning on producing locally and then shipping to Europe. Okay, great. That concludes my brief summary of the industry globally and in Saudi Arabia. I want to go ahead and bring up this screen here as we move into our open Q&A session. Thanks, Carrie.
Thank you, Hack. Appreciate that. And yeah, so we're drawing attention to this screen here, which gives bilateral members and our subscribers access to the conference. And if you use the registration code here, and which we'll also make available post webinar for our bilateral members to as a follow-up. you will be able to register at a discount for Hydrogen Arabia. And as I understand it, it is an inaugural event, and I know that they have very high expectations. There's a lot going on in the region right now related to clean energy, specifically hydrogen. And so I did want to kind of start there, just asking some questions. If I'm going to leave this screen up for a moment, but if we can have both of our speakers just bring their cameras up. Great, thanks, gentlemen. So again, we know that this is an inaugural event. We obviously want to get as much attention on it as possible. Again, Oliver, tell me a little bit about what kind of key outcomes you believe the conference organizers, you all are looking to achieve for this conference this year.
So for this year, obviously being the first, our hope and intention is that we are meeting our partner objectives and requirements. A lot of the projects that HAC has gone through and mentioned from NEOM and PIF funding and YAMBU do require a lot of the private sector innovations to roll out. So solution providers and the technology providers to come in and support that value chain. So for us really is to ensure that participants who are coming, whether it's on an exhibition side of things or on the delegate side of things, are meeting with the right people and are having constructive conversations. So us on the organizing side are trying to ensure that even with an inaugural event, that people are meeting who they want to meet and having those connections directly at Hydrogen Arabia. I think that's the only way an event naturally grows when you're providing business opportunities. But not only that, enhancing their presence at the event, so putting them in front of the right people. So I think from our perspective as an event, this is kind of like core to a launch event. Because we have seen previously in some events where partners are not really being put in the right meetings, in the right positions, and they're not getting that return on investment. So for us, connections is really important.
Great,
You
thank
know,
you.
um,
Sorry, go
I'd
ahead, Pat.
say, just to jump in real quick, I'd actually say, Oliver, you mentioned your portfolio of events, and I was at World Hydrogen Rotterdam earlier this year, and I've got to say it was huge, very well attended. Um, there many many booths. The national sections were just huge. And there was a mix of event and conference. I wanted to ask, what's the similar breakdown? What do you guys have planned for Hydrogen Arabia in terms of conference and expo and conference? I know in Rotterdam, the expo was just massive, so big that the conference was kind of a sideshow. But I know it probably won't be that big for this inaugural event. But what do you guys have planned?
So on the actually it's the flip side on this event. So we're seeing a lot more registrations on the delegate side, which is common and natural for a launch event. So we are expecting a much bigger conference at here in Riyadh in December, and we are expecting about 50 to 60 in terms of the companies exhibiting with us. So we are starting off in a hotel venue, albeit a very very large convention hotel venue. But in terms of the split, the conference itself is very attractive and, getting quite a lot of delegates, registrations on that. We're very happy with the numbers we're getting so far, and we hope that continues. But I think just with the natural progression of any event, you want to limit the exhibition side of things and kind of like develop the delegate side of things. So you're getting those connections, you're getting those meetings, and companies and suppliers will then have justifications to have that additional investment in year 2 and 3. Of course, our ambitions here is always to grow the event. Don't get me wrong, I am in the event space. However, we do feel giving value back and making sure that our suppliers and partners are getting those meetings is key for this event. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Yes, and Hack, again, on the investment side for Saudi Arabia and potentially Oliver as well. I mean, what support can our visitors, participants expect from Hydrogen Arabia for any kind of business related connect? You mentioned connections, but is there an area for them to go to, for them to sign up for business to business? And what do you see as the support network for them who actually want to meet with companies or with the right people in Saudi Arabia for potential investment opportunities?
Oliver, why don't you take that, and then I'll add a few footnotes.
Correct. Through our events, we do have solutions, one-to-one solutions, where visitors and supplier side are able to meet. So if we were to go to the same event, for instance, Carrie, and we had similar interests in terms of business, the application would notify us as a mutual match, and that meeting would naturally happen. So there is several solutions that we offer as part of the RX Global offering in terms of events that make those meetings naturally happen. So there's a couple of solutions that we do have for visitors, delegates, and also exhibitors. However, we've also created the program in such a way that it forces all our participants to mingle and network. So there's strategic placements of certain areas of interest. There's strategic programs that we will be actually announcing. I think we're a week early that we will be announcing where delegates will be able to network with some of the key brands and entities that we've mentioned on this call. Similar to World in Rotterdam, we offer opportunities for delegates to meet with government officials, with key buyers in the market, and this is something that we're wanting to roll out at Hydrogen Arabia. So there's a mix in terms of forced networkings, but then there's also the mutually matched through the applications itself. And then there's a bit more high level, pre-organized on a government level and semi-government company level as well that we will be announcing fairly shortly.
Great.
I would add too as well that while the event is nominally about Saudi Arabia, and there will certainly be a large presence from local universities, ministries, and companies, it is also an international event, is my understanding. And so there will be many delegates from East Asia, Western Europe, North America. These are going to be sort of uh, large organizations in the hydrogen and fuel cell space. And I know looking through the speaker lineup, these are many very high level speakers that you would expect to see at international events. And I would encourage folks too at the bilateral chamber, if you are somewhat new to the hydrogen energy space, showing up at Oliver's event in Rotterdam is kind of like drinking from the fire hose, really. It's just a massive, massive event. So is their other event, the Tokyo Fuel Cell Expo in Japan. But this event might be slightly smaller, maybe a little more cozy. And I think you'd be much more likely to get some FaceTime or these business meetings that Oliver's been talking about, might be a little more likely to happen in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, where you're one of maybe, you know, a couple hundred as opposed to one of 10,000, like some of their other big events. So I think if you're looking for an entree to the hydrogen energy industry, this might be a good place to start.
Absolutely. And Hack, you do have that background. So I'll leave it with this question, and then we'll provide our audience with a little bit more information again on how they can register. But Hack, as you see it, you've been involved in this industry for quite some time. What are your forecasts or thoughts related to hydrogen in the Middle East, in the region, in the next 5 years or so?
Well, it's clear to everybody that the Middle East region, specifically Saudi Arabia, has very strong potential for renewables. The question is converting this renewable energy into clean hydrogen. When you're moving down the value chain, you've got your renewable energy. How do I transport sunlight and wind? Well, I can't, right? Let me turn it into electricity first. How do I transport electricity? Well, that's also very difficult. Well, let me turn it into hydrogen. How do I transport hydrogen? Well, again, hydrogen is the lightest molecule. It also loves to leak. So that's again still difficult. So what do I do with the hydrogen? Well, I can make synthetic aviation fuel. I can make methanol, blue methanol for shipping fuel. I can make clean ammonia, which is an energy storage medium as well as a fuel. Ammonia, for example, is being burned in thermal power plants in Japan and Korea to offset the carbon footprint of those plants, right? And extend the usable lifetime of those assets. So the question really is, how do you move down the value chain? Clean hydrogen, in and of itself, um, we is sort of, as it's been called, the Swiss Army knife of clean energy. I think Bill Gates called it that. But really, where the industry is moving today is what do you produce from the clean hydrogen, and then how do you get to the clean hydrogen? And so I think for Saudi Arabia, the question is how far down the value chain do you want to go in terms of value add before you start exporting? Another thing too, that's very important is the potential for exports to Europe, which is as I mentioned at the beginning of the webinar today, many countries will pay to subsidize exports, but few countries pay to subsidize imports. And yet clean hydrogen is a case in point. Um, Germany is leading Europe, and Japan is leading East Asia in importing clean hydrogen or its derivatives. So that's where the industry is going. There's a huge demand, and the international trade of these commodities, this is something I'm going to be speaking about, and I think it's very important to the kingdom, is how you participate in these international markets, whether it's with energy attribute certificates, book and claim processes, um, standards for clean hydrogen, whether it's carbon intensity, pressurization standards, shipping standards, things like that. It's all about being based in Saudi Arabia, but then expanding to these international markets. That's where the opportunity is.
Great. And there does sound like there's a lot of opportunity there. Well, we're pleased at the Bilateral Chamber of Commerce to be working with UHAC and Oliver. It was a pleasure to meet you today. Congratulations on what we anticipate to be a very successful conference, and look forward to further discussions and updates. And our membership and bilateral subscribers can go to the website that is in the chat at this time, and also will be on our website later today to register again with using this code. We're going to leave it there, wrap up for today. And again, I just want to thank Hack Hayward and Oliver Pensulo for joining us for this webinar preview to the Hydrogen Arabia conference. Thank you both.